Yo, let's break it down. Alright, so this is a cover of Linkin Park's Points of Authority by Rauko. Basically, I wanted to show you all the layers and what goes into one of the bigger productions that I've done. So first, we'll just start with drums. We ended up using the Invasion kit for Rauko. We use MIDI drums just because it's more metalcore, so it's more fitting for that. I'll just play the intro here. You'll notice there's also a snare layer right here. Didn't love the way the sample sounded just by its own though. Without it, with it, it just has like a little bit of pop to it that makes it stand out a little bit more. So in the mix, I have it set so we have the kick drum, snare drum, rack tom, floor tom, hi-hats, overheads, room close and far, and then any like effect symbols. When it's playing here, you'll see kick, snare, kick, snare. So I have all those going to buses here. Kick's going to a kick bus, snare bus on the snare. Toms are going to shells, and then the rest is going to cymbals. So if I scoot over here to my buses, you'll see I have my kick bus here, snare bus. Those are both going into the shells here, which I have going into a parallel compressor. Let me show you what that's like, just the shells. And then just the parallel compression on its own. Just super slammed. And then I have cymbals. So there's not any kick in the overheads because I didn't want it to take up any unnecessary space. So you'll hear snare and toms. And then those are all going to my drum bus here, which I have also set to going to a drum room. So because we're using programmed drums, I just wanted to create a little bit of space. And that slammed pretty heavy with compression. But altogether, drums sound like this. The next thing that I usually add in when I'm mixing is bass. For this song, because we're more metalcore, we play 7 strings, so we actually drop the song down 5 steps. So the original song is in D sharp, we play in A sharp. I have the song here that I just have pitched down, and it sounds super silly. But yeah, here's what it sounds like. It sounds especially weird when you put in the vocals. Like, that just sounds stupid. It sounds so bad. The chorus, I'll just play it. We just use that for reference, especially for vocals, so we would know what pitch it is. So the bass is dropped down, the tuning. So I have 2 bass signals here. These are both just DIs with plugins on them. The first one we have is a Dark Glass. It's the Neural DSP Dark Glass, like B7K. This one I use is like the grit bass. And then the other bass DI I have is the Joey Sturgis Tones Bass Forge Rex Brown signature bass plugin. This one's a lot cleaner. So both of them together sounds like this. And what I like about that is if I find it's too gritty, you can just adjust this. But I liked how gritty it was, so it just had to equal. Another thing with the bass that I found with these 2 plugins, when I first added them on, they were a little bit out of phase. I actually put on SoundRadix Auto Line 2, and you can see that it calculated that the Joey Sturgis Tones made it 93 samples different. Very slight, but just enough to fix the phase on that. Then I have both these tracks running into the bass bus here. Basically, I just have a limiter, compression, just like super subtle on that, and then just a little bit of EQ to get rid of some nastiness. So I'll play it with and without the EQ. I'll play it without the EQ first. So I don't know how well you can hear that, but there's like this weird whistling that I didn't like. Now it's all cleaned up. So just some cleaning up EQ there. Let's dive into guitars. We recorded the guitars with an Axe Effects. The intro, there's like a lo-fi plugin. This plugin's super cool. It's the Arturia Tape Mello-Fi. It's got a ton of cool presets and then just a ton of cool settings. The filter's really nice on it. So basically I just had that to have like some drive on the preamp and then just filter out with this EQ. And then I also just put a low pass filter on it just to get rid of some of that high end. With nothing on it, it sounds like this. And then with the filtered guitar, it sounds like this. So that's just panned center, and then I have the rhythm guitars doubled. The way that I like to look at it is this is the center, left, right, left, right. So if you come into the mix here, you'll see that I have like that centered, and then these two are panned 80 degrees. These ones are panned 100 degrees. So when it comes in, you'll hear the guitars go pan all the way left and right. But then when it comes in on the verse, they're panned 80 degrees. So just a subtle difference when the chorus comes in. So like playing the into the verse, into the chorus. If you're listening with headphones, you'll hear the jump. Just a subtle difference just to kind of make it bigger. And then the guitars in this song are super, super simple. So the basics of the song with drums, bass, and guitar here. As far as like basic instrumental, it's not that interesting a song, but where the song really comes to life is the production. I have additional production split into 3 different categories for this song. I have a subs, impacts, and synth. They're kind of catch-all categories. I'll just do the sub first. This first one is sub drops here. I'm using the Joey Sturgis Sub Destroyer. I like it because you can just tune to whatever the song is. So this one, the drop is an A sharp. And then you can choose what it goes down to, which is D sharp. I have it triggered here. I just set it to automate when to trigger fire. It's usually in sections where there's like big impacts. So right away when the song starts. And it's just subtle. I don't like crazy big 808 drops, but I like to feel it when you're in the car. You might not even hear it on like headphones even, but you'll feel it in the car. We asked my friend TJ to do some post-production on this. He's a big Linkin Park fan, and he does some DJ songs. He has his own solo project called Evasite, EVA Site. He did some production on this for us. He added like this big 808 drop here. It has like a bunch of distortion on it. Just sounds super cool. So that one is very noticeable. That one hits during like the breakdown section, which we made the bridge of the song when Mike Shinoda does the rapping part. We made that more of a breakdown. The composition, we wanted to make just a little bit more metalcore, so we made those parts a little bit more breakdowny. And let's get into the impacts here. So there's a bunch of impacts. I added some things, TJ added some things. I'll just start when the song kicks in. It has these impacts. It's like a car crash noise, and then again, a lot of these I like to make as more you feel them rather than hear them. So when you listen to it as a whole, you might not hear it all the way. And then I have some other impacts when the verse comes back in. And I love this little sound clip that TJ added. It sounds so weird. It sounds like a transformer or something. Oh yeah, the chorus, we added these anvil sounds. Just on when the snare hits, so. I just thought it was perfect for that. We've got some more impacts here. This one sounds super cool. Yeah, I love that transformer kind of sounding stuff. The breakdown here, slightly different version of that. More transformer sounds. Yeah, that one sounds super cool. More impacts in the end breakdown. So there's this one. And then that one. So like listening to that breakdown as a whole. I just label anything that has kind of more melodic touch as like a synth. Let's just play the original so we can hear what the intro on the original has. Okay, so a few things here. There's like that synth line, and then there's like the breathing. There's 2 sets of breathing, like for the breathing, I was not sure how to do that. And I was like, I don't want to just do it into the mic. I want to do something like cooler than that. So what I actually did is I took my dog Sweets and my sister's dog Luke on a long walk. And then I brought them down into the studio and I just put the mic really close to them. So here is Luke panting. And then here's Sweets panting. And then what I did was I chopped them up to match the rhythm. Here's Luke panting. And then here's Sweets. So both of them together kind of makes like a cool polyrhythm. That's my favorite part of the song, just having my dogs feature on this song. It's so cool. Every time I hear the intro, I love that part. It like took something that I was like, how do I make this weird breathing rhythm thing sound cool? And now every time I hear it, I just love it. TJ did all the synth lines for this. So just kind of some ambience there. And then here's the main synth. Love that like swaying filter throughout. Sounds so cool. Here's a layer of that. Yeah, that sounds so cool. So all of those together. Yeah, nailed that. We have a little bit of a riser coming out of it. So that's all the intro. When it comes in, we have the DJ scratching, which TJ crushed it on. Here's that with no full context. That sound sounds so sick. So something that I do a lot in my productions is add trap hats. My friend Dan always talks about me doing that. So of course we added trap hats during the chorus. So it's just subtle, but during the chorus it sounds like this. Here's everything. So this part in the song, we muted the instrumentals when the vocals are in just to kind of make more of an impact when the second verse comes in. So instrumentally, it sounds like this, which TJ killed these little hi-hat glitches. Yeah, that sounds awesome. In the breakdown, there's these cool little guitar glitches that happen. I literally randomly cut up guitars, so just the guitar glitches. It's pretty subtle, but like it just kind of adds a cool texture. Yeah, those guitar glitches, I think, just add a little bit to that part and make it super cool. This last chorus, the instrumental kind of drops out while the vocals are going. So I reversed the vocal, put reverb on it, bounce that down, and then reverse it again. To me, that sounds like in Harry Potter 1 when the book comes out in the library. It sounds ridiculous on its own, but it sounds cool in the context. So TJ also added this like spiral down sound. It sounds so sick. And then the last chorus, instrumentally, we just kind of all chug it and do those like constant eighth notes. We have pulsing to go with it. And then the outro is where all the cool stuff happens. We have the panting back in. You can see how I chopped up the the panting there. My favorite part of this is actually TJ added this machine gun, which sounds so sick. I always joke about putting machine guns in songs, and when it actually works, I love it. It's so ridiculous. I have the panting match with that. It's so ridiculous. So lastly, let's break down the vocals. I wanted to make sure the vocals sounded like a full production if there's no music behind it. So make sure that the dynamics are there, keep it interesting if you just take out the instrumental. So there's so many layers on this. On the intro, kind of have a lo-fi voice doing the intro part that Mike Shinoda does.
Forfeit the game before somebody else takes you out of the frame and put your name to shame.
And then there's a double of that.
Forfeit the game before somebody else takes you out of the frame and put your name to shame.
I have it pitched down. It sounds a little cooler.
Forfeit the game before somebody else takes you out of the frame and put your name to shame.
One thing I think is cool is I added an AI voice to where I kind of like, I made the AI voice do it and then I matched the rhythm to the song. So
forfeit the game before somebody else takes you out of the frame.
Put your name to shame.
Cover up your face.
I did all sorts of weird things to this. So there's a tremolo effect, so it kind of like comes in and out of volume, and then I have it stereo, and then there's like some lo-fi effects on it.
Cover up your face. You can't run the race, the pace is too fast.
And then I just made it so there's vocal glitching in there where I just did manually, and then I also added that little like tape stop right there. Here's all that together.
Cover up your face. You can't run the race, the pace is too fast.
So everybody in the band did vocals on this.
You love the way I look at you while taking pleasure in the awful things you put me through.
So there's screaming that's left and right to kind of thicken those parts up on top of the singing. There's like two different vocal styles, so this one.
You love the way.
And then I'm just going to remove the screaming so you can hear these are a little more like gritty.
While taking pleasure in the awful things you put me through. My life, my pride is broken.
Very different vocal styles. And then the chorus, we have a center vocal and then a left and right doing kind of more clean singing.
You like to think you're never wrong.
But then there's also these gritty vocals on it.
You like to think you're never wrong.
So altogether, it just really sounds super thick.
You like to think you're never wrong.
And then there's backup vocals.
You live what you've learned.
So there's a main and then just an octave low. Let me jump to the breakdown or the bridge when Mike Shinoda does the rapping part, because I was like, how are we going to make that sound cool without just rapping and make it more metalcore? So I was like, well, just scream it.
Forfeit the game before somebody else takes you out of the frame.
Some vocal glitching.
Forfeit the game before somebody else takes you out of the frame.
So the first two stanzas are like high screams, and then we added low screams with high screams on a left and right. And then I love how I did this part. I did like kind of a tape stop / glitch on the vocals after that part.
You like to think you're never wrong.
So just the vocals here.
You like to think you're never.
Because the pitch down with the tape stop also slows down the timing, I like sped the timing back up after I did the tape stop. So here's just that.
You like to think you're never.
This song just has layers and layers of vocals. Those are all the main vocals, and then we have Kai doing backups. He does like some high screams and then also doubles on the backup vocals during the chorus.
You like to think you're never wrong. You live what you learn. You have to.
So he does these low vocals and then also some whispers on top of that to really give it some texture. A lot of these vocals are just texture stuff. So maybe in the full mix, you're not really hearing everything individually, but you're not supposed to. He does those and then also backs up the screams on certain sections, like a left and right, just to make it sound huge. Sounds super cool. We also have Jimmy doing vocals, some screams on that part. So he does the you live what you've learned too.
You live what you've learned.
They both do that part during the breakdown too. So the main vocals are doing most of the line, and then the fourth line is Kai and Jimmy.
Finish the game before somebody else takes you out of the frame. Put your name to shame. Cover up your face, you can't run the race. The pace is too fast. It just will last.
Yeah, that sounds wild. Cam also did some backup yelling. His vocals add such a cool texture. So I'm going to play it with and without. So I'll play it without first. And then I'll add Cam's vocals in. I don't know if you can really hear it that well, but it just adds such a cool texture to me.
You live what you learned.
It's just like this visceral yelling that I love. So that's kind of all the yells in it. We also had Jesse add some vocals. So he's also backing up these parts in the chorus.
You live what you learn. You have to act like you're someone. You live what you learn. You want some.
And then Jesse came up with this vocal harmony. It's not in the original song, but I love the way that it sounds on these verses.
When I give in.
So he does that on both of the verses.
If I give in.
Just elevates that a little bit. I really love it. Okay, and then one of my favorite parts, my friend Mike Farnsworth always wanted to do a Linkin Park cover. He sang on this, and his voice adds everything that the song needed. Like, this song would not be the same without Mike's vocals on. He has such an angelic voice that just suits so perfectly. So he sang the chorus and then a lot of these kind of higher parts on the verses.
You love the way.
And I have those really filtered right there because that part just calls for that.
You love the way.
Yeah, without his vocals, it doesn't sound anything the same.
You love the way. You love the way.
Yeah, sounds amazing. And then him singing the chorus sounds so awesome. I'll mute the main vocals.
You have to act like you're someone.
Yeah, his voice sounds so good on this and adds like everything that the main vocals are missing. I'll play the last chorus because it has the most of all the vocal layers.
You like to think you're never wrong. You have to act like you're someone. You live what you live. You want someone to hurt like you. You live what you live. You want to share what you've been through. You live what you learned.
The dog panting, yes. So that's the breakdown for Linkin Park's Points of Authority. It's covered by Rauko. Let me know if you have any questions about anything on this production. If you have questions on your own productions, if there's any specific songs you want me to kind of break down or go through, I'd love to do that. So yeah, reach out if you have any questions.